So we have Doris Gibbons with us today. She's with Gibbons Family Insurance of American Family, and she's in Harrison, Ohio, and has been in business for 30 years. Do I have that correct?
You do. It's Gibbons Insurance Agency of American Family. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the reason why we have Doris on here today is because, during the home buying process, you have to have an insurance policy on your house. That's if you're getting a loan, you have to have an insurance policy. If you're paying cash, you should probably have one anyways, but the bank requires you to have one. So during the inspection period is when you need to be looking into your insurance policies. For one, to see if you like the payment, you're allowed to shop around, but then also to find out what all goes into an insurance policy and things that you need to consider. So we have Doris on here today. So we could talk about these. I know I recently switched my insurance, and we had talked about replacement costs and loss of use, and I got a lot of learning in. So
I love it. Thanks, Albert.
You're welcome. So I'll let you take it from here and then kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm excited because, everybody wants to be a homeowner these days. It's the American dream. And so you finally get the realtor like Aubrey to get you the house of your dreams. And now what do you do next? So of course, we know that the mortgage underwriters are going to want to see proof of homeowner's insurance. There's 4 key ingredients that make up a homeowner's policy. And the first one being replacement cost. So there are people that have replacement costs on their home for the dwelling itself and also for their contents, which is personal property. But then there's people that buy ACV, which is actual cash value on the house and also on their contents, which again is personal property. You would always want replacement costs on both. And I'll just give you a quick example. If you and I had 10 sweaters that we use in the winter and we had ACV, we're literally going to get yard sale prices for those sweaters that may have cost us $45. We're going to get a quarter off all of those because it's actual cash value. You would not want that.
So those cashmere sweaters, you won't get the price.
Right, exactly. It would be very sad because you would get a very, very tiny amount. But the premium is lower on ACV, so people sometimes gravitate towards what's the lowest cost, not necessarily what's the best value. So you definitely want replacement costs so that no matter what it's going to cost to get those items repaired, fixed, and replaced today. Which, even if you bought a house 5 years ago, the price is not the same as what it would cost to get it rebuilt today if there was a tornado or a fire or anything like that.
You actually bring up a good point because what has happened in the past 5 years with home values.
Right.
So have you evaluated a home policy recently? Do you need to increase it? Because home price, appreciation has happened, over the past 2 years? Last year was 20%.
It's crazy. And so, we're at the point right now where they're getting their first house and they're getting everything they need for, they're dotting their I's, crossing their T's and getting their paperwork in plenty of time for underwriting. And they're going to get replacement cost on that house. But even after they've lived in that house for a while, they should be doing annual reviews at the bare minimum every other year with their agent. They should be sitting down. Do they get new pets? Do they have horses? All kinds of things should be asked to make sure that they're properly covered. So, a horse gets out in the yard and escapes to the road, a horse can do a lot of damage to a car. We of course do not want the horse hurt, but the person that has the car damage is going to be looking for liability. So that brings us to our next point. So
I guess, can you tell where we live? We're in a spot where there's horses around.
Yes. There's horses. Yes, that's true. And so we want to make sure there's liability on our home. Our liability not just covers us when someone comes over to help us with, maybe they're lifting a heavy box for us and they're putting it high on a shelf so that we don't have to do it. And then, we're going to have a glass of wine afterwards, right, to visit. Yeah. But if they hurt themselves while they're doing this good deed, our liability protects us from that, right? So guest medical would pay first. And then if that got maxed, which is easy to do because it's typically only $1,000 or $5,000 built into a standard homeowner's policy. Doesn't go very far if somebody needs X-ray or long-term care. So then we would have their liability kick in, which is usually $300,000 or $500,000 depending on what someone chooses. So you want your liability to be in place. And then we're also going to talk about loss of use. So if you got this brand new house, you just closed, you're so stinking excited and you've hung all the pictures and you've got all the boxes unpacked and you're just living life to the fullest, right? It's your dream home. You're thrilled. But then, Mother Nature can be quite a pain in the butt and something terrible happens. And so you can't stay in that house because, there was a Hurricane Ike or whatever the case may be. And now you can't stay in the house because it needs to be repaired and replaced back to what, same light, kind, and quality that you had. So then they're going to give you money to go to an apartment or you can rent another house while they're fixing fixing that so that loss of use is paying the difference, because of course you're going to be eating out more, you're going to be doing dry cleaning, whatever the case may be, because you can't stay there until it gets better again, and it will get fixed. So that's what the insurance will do for you. It'll make you whole again. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's no deductible on loss of use, just so you know. So if you have a property claim, you pay your deductible, and then no deductible to use the loss of use or the liability, but it's just built into your policy.
Okay. No, and it's all great information. I think that these are things that people like buying whenever you don't think about it, because some people are payment shoppers. You know, what is the least amount that you can pay, but that doesn't really protect you in the end. I know whenever you and I talked and you explained it all to me, and then we really looked at what my home value was versus when I bought it, and then to cover me,
Right.
like single person, one income, and then just how much money do you really have lying around to fix those things or to rebuild this house should it get knocked over?
Correct. And where does that shortage come from? It's going to come from your pocket if there's a shortage. So great point. I totally agree with you. You know, we get this great house and we want to make sure that we've got a good value on it. We don't want to be overinsured, but we certainly don't want to be underinsured.
Right.
And both can happen. That's why you should be doing your reviews and making sure that you're looking to make sure you're getting the best value. And you're right. If someone's just going for the cheapest price they possibly can, we already know cheaper does not mean better. And you certainly don't do that on haircuts or cars or your doctor. So why would you do that on your biggest asset you owned?
Correct.
And life can be great majority of the time. It just takes one bad day. That's all it takes. And let's face it, in life, we usually get one bad day.
And I know after like talking to you, like I felt so much more at ease knowing that if something were to happen that, okay, you know what I mean? It was going to be okay.
Yeah. I would definitely help you if, heavens forbid, these worst things happen. You know, we get a burglary or a kitchen fire, any of those things. If you have to fill out a stack of paperwork of everything that's missing after a burglary, I assure you, people almost could have, what is that, an anxiety attack. It's so awful because you've been violated, right? And then you get an insurance stack of papers that you have to fill out every line.
You don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do. And you need an insurance that will sit down and help you with that, because it's very frustrating at a time that you just want to scream, right?
And I know I've sat down with you and like heard stories and how you put your heart into helping your clients and making sure that they know the process and trying to calm down all of those anxieties, you know, because you don't know what you don't know. And then you have the anxiety with, am I filling this out properly? You know, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So I know that you walk people through the processes and fight for them. And
Yes, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Awesome.
It was my grandmother that encouraged me to get into the insurance industry, simply because she thought I was good at hand-holding and explaining things, dotting I's and crossing T's, because she was a widow and she needed, you know, some guidance on occasion. And when you learn that about yourself, because we all have such great different skill sets, we need to have different skill sets in the world, but it's great to know that, okay, I hate when someone has to go through a really, really hard time. I do, but I want to make it the best that I can possibly make it, because I can't take that away, but what can I do with it today, right?
Right. Yeah.
So thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I know that there were a few other things, and I think that might be leading into the stories, you know, talk about like treaties or like, you know, specific aspects of ways that you've helped people or different scenarios. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, or?
Sure. I think people have this as a burning question most of the time. So you go out and you find the perfect house, and it could be in a subdivision that may have 2 trees in it because it's brand new. So you're lucky, right? You got 2 trees in your brand new subdivision that was just built. You're getting this house. Or someone else could buy something that's very rural and they have 48 acres and they have hundreds upon hundreds of trees. So on your property, whether you have 2, 3, or hundreds, this is how it would work in the liability scenario. So if I have a perfectly healthy live tree in my yard and it was to be blown over by Mother Nature and these high winds we get, if it were to hit our fence or our pole barn or our shed or our car or our own house, all those items that it has damaged is then covered. So fencing and stuff is expensive too. People sometimes don't realize fencing adds up quick. So if it damages those items, all those items are going to be paid for on your new homeowner's policy, and you're going to have coverage for that. Now here's the kicker on the tree though. If a tree is standing upright, healthy, and gets blown over and uprooted from these high winds, and it doesn't hit anything, so it just lands on the ground, that's just general maintenance. That's not a homeowner's claim because it didn't damage anything. So you can cut up the wood, you can sell it, you can have a big bonfire, you can use it for your own fireplace, or you can
have a party
to help you. Right, exactly. But people want to know, I've got all these trees, I'm worried about if it hits the house. Well, if it hits the house, which we hate that for you, but it would be covered. Now, this is on your own property with your own damage. Now, if that perfectly healthy tree is on your property and it falls and it hits your neighbor's house or your neighbor's car or your neighbor's swing set or whatever that is, you are not liable for that. And everybody is so surprised to hear that. But if that
That's shocking.
yes, and that's why it's so great to talk about, because we get calls all the time when it's high winds. I think my neighbor's house is, tree is going to come down. And they're nervous, right? But if it's a perfectly healthy tree, meaning, it had leaves when it was supposed to, it's alive and well, and it hits your neighbor's house or the fence or whatever it is, you were not out there huffing and puffing and pushing this tree over. It is not your fault. You did not cause that to happen. It's an act of God, not your fault. And I'm sorry that they got their, item damaged, but they would turn in a claim under their own homeowner's policy. And that's how that would work. And if it hits a commercial building, it would obviously be the commercial property would turn in the claim. And we as agents, Aubrey, we do not go out and count how many trees somebody has. We don't charge them for that. We don't know who has 3 or 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're not charging you for that, but that's how that works. It would be if you didn't cause it to happen and it's a perfectly healthy tree, they would turn it in. But if you have a dead tree or your neighbor's tree is dead, that's a different scenario. Because if you see your neighbor's tree is dead and you're worried it's going to come, you're going to do documentation, certified letters. I'm worried about your tree. You need to get that removed. No one wants to pay to have a tree removed. But if it's not living, you should do that if it's on your own property. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, there's a lot about trees. My past was horticulture and stuff, and I didn't.
I love it. Yes. So I love that you shared that. Yes, because you would not believe it. Every time there is wind, we get phone calls, like every time.
I bet.
Yeah. Well, they're worried about, they don't want their tree to hurt someone, and they certainly don't want to be liable, but it just depends on the situation. But talk to your agent if you ever have questions about such a thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw you off with this one. I know we can't talk about that, but what is there like a common myth or things that you hear people say about like insurance that you have to or like that you have to explain over and over again?
Yes. Yeah, I love that you asked that because I wasn't expecting it, but it's great that you did. So I'm going to say my normal thoughts on this. So contracts, which is your policy, written by attorneys for attorneys, that's what they are. Your insurance contracts, they're written by attorneys for attorneys, not for us lay people, right? Okay. Then you've got, so they're not created equal. That's why there's so many insurance companies. Everybody has their own niche they're going after. And then, so policies are not created equal. Agents are not created equal. You don't know if they're seasoned, how many designations they've earned. Lots go into that. How many things have they really handled hands-on? Because it makes a big difference that I've worked through 2 tornadoes. If you've never worked through a tornado, I assure you, you're going to be working around the clock, eating and drinking while you're helping someone and they understand. It's just crazy. And then also, policies, agencies, and then the carriers are not created equal. Again, that's why there's so many. So people will often say to me, well, I got this quote and it's, it's $200 cheaper. Gosh, I don't understand, Doris, why you would charge me more. It's like, well, they don't know if it's an HO3. They don't know if it's an HO5. They don't know what perils are covered. They're not the same thing. They're comparing apples and oranges, sometimes fruit baskets to a grape. I mean, it's just, they don't know. So they need someone that cares about them to say, I understand that those low rates are so enticing. And especially a lot of times, they see that mailer and they're just like, oh my gosh. Well, they've given them every discount known to man. Whether they're going to qualify or not is a whole different story, right? Okay. But they're going to give them all those great discounts to get the premium low, to get them excited. So I think that often people don't really know what they're comparing. And so they see these low rates and they think, oh, that's the best thing ever. But I assure you, insurance carriers, they're not trying to price themselves out of business, right? They're all trying to be very competitive. We all get our rates approved through the Department of Insurance. I mean, so we don't just get to say, oh, we want to raise this year. We haven't had one in 5 years. It doesn't work like that at all. So, we all put our money in a kitty. And then if you have a claim and I have a claim, we have to take money out of the kitty, right? Yeah. And the Department of Insurance makes us have a reserve. So the hat has to have at least this much in it, because if everybody has a terrible tornado or Hurricane Ike or whatever the case is, we want to make sure we have enough money to pay for all that. So rates are very, very specific. So if someone's giving you something that's just so low and out of the norm, it should probably already make you, scratch your head a little bit and like, I don't think this is necessarily apples to apples, but you should talk to your agent about it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I hope that's what you were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah. Is there any last thoughts or any other topics?
I'm just going to add, because everybody's looking for a good value. They are. So for savings, the best way to make savings on your insurance is bundling things. And I know people hear that all the time, but the best rate is home, auto, and life insurance all together. Everything gets at a bundle. Discount is just the best rating. So piecing things, oh, I can write somebody's auto through Progressive here, which I can, and I can write their home through this, and I could do their boat under this carrier, and I could do all those things. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to look at different scenarios. Where are they getting the best bang for their buck? So maybe their home is $10 higher a year with doing it all together, but then their boat is $60 less, and their life insurance is $5 less. So what is your overall out-of-pocket every year for your insurance as a total? That's what you should care about, because piecing it isn't the best deal. So you should really look at it like, what am I paying for the full year if I do it this way or that way? And your agent should be doing that for you, but they should be explaining to you why they're doing it that way, right?
Yeah.
That they care about how hard you work for your money. They know they work hard for their money, and everybody wants, to feel like they're getting a fair amount, to be charged. Nobody wants to feel like they're being, right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Nobody feels like they
I think everybody knows what you're trying to say.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
So I think that's what I would say at the end, because I feel like, we need insurance. We need it. Even if you don't have a mortgage, even if the house is paid off, you would not risk an asset that big to be uninsured. It would just be silly. It really would be.
And if you spent all that time and that hard work to have the cash to pay for it, or you've paid it off and something happens,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, you would want that.
Right. But I will tell you, people that buy properties a lot of times for renovation and flipping, or they're going to, make it a rental property in the end, they will go without insurance sometimes because it was a cash deal. But I will tell you firsthand, doing this 30 years, that they always regret it. There always is something. Somebody could, a special needs child could walk into that place, and the liability is really important if it's not in place, right? I won't go into detail, but it's important. Or it could be that, they just put $30,000 in it, and then there's a fire. Who knew that an arson lived 3 doors down? There's
or like if there's tools and equipment in there. What if somebody comes in and robs you?
Oh, I totally agree. So
I know stories like that. So
yes, and frozen pipes were the big one this past December. So I'm sure so many people called to say, Doris, I know I should have talked to you before, but I bought this property on cash. I was gonna, look into that next year. What I mean, and it's like, oh, now you got $72,000 in damage, because if it happens you're on the 3rd floor and the water trickles down to the 1st floor, you're liable for all of that, and it's a huge out-of-pocket expense that they will have to pay themselves. And of course, they would have rather paid just a couple $100 to put that on the insurance, bill, right?
Right.
Of course, they would have.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a lot of great, useful information, and I think people will be happy to hear this and learn some new things. So how can people get a hold of you?
Oh, thank you. Okay, so my phone number is 513-202-9922. They can certainly check the website or send me an email. Do you want me to spell that out? Then it would just be D for Doris, and then Gibbons, my last name, which is GIBB, like boys, ONS @amfam.com. So dgibbons@amfam.com. You can email me or give me a call at the 513-202-9922 is the best way.
Okay, great. And we'll have that information in this video at the bottom, so people can go ahead and take a look there. So yeah, give her a call, everybody.
And spring is just around the corner, so get out there and find those houses. They are out there for you, and so go buy some. Have Aubrey show you several, and then pick the one that you know is going to work great for your family. Enjoy it. It's wonderful to be a homeowner, and honestly, who wants to give all that money to a landlord? I mean, honestly, get out of that as fast as you can, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, take care. Thank you.
Right, you too.